Florida Governor Ron DeSantis loves to claim that he is taking on the elites. But in reality, the elites are taking him on fancy trips. According to a Washington Post report, the presidential candidate traveled on private jets and accepted gifts from wealthy benefactors at least 6 times that he had failed to properly disclose. So they're not saying, oh, a total of 6 times. That's just the 6 times he didn't disclose. Now the trips came in late 2018 in the period between his election and inauguration as governor, but he did not report the flights, lodging, and dining as gifts or campaign contributions, and it's not clear whether he had personally reimbursed the donors for the flights. So now the reason that it's not clear, I'll get into, but basically he had a little bit of a helping hand from Florida Republicans, because of course. Now, a DeSantis spokesperson says, oh, what are you talking about? He didn't do anything wrong. In fact, here's DeSantis campaign spokesperson Andrew Romeo saying, all travel and events you mentioned from almost 5 years ago were compliant and received proper payment. Yes, they were 5 years ago. So why are you even talking about, this corruption? But it's not actually corruption, though. Efforts to fundraise for state political parties and cultivate relationships with state officials are standard for political leaders, especially during an election year. But wait, Ron, I thought you were running as a not standard politician, as an outsider who's taking on the elites and the establishment. Bit of mixed messaging here, sir. But as I mentioned, thanks to the efforts of Florida Republicans, the ethics rules in the state do allow for private jet travel to be, get this, reimbursed at the cost of a coach ticket for the same route. So now the only people who take private jets are rich people. So this is a rule specifically enacted to help Ron DeSantis and rich people. So of course you have someone like Ron, who is able to reap all the benefits of luxury travel with very little cost. Now, the Florida legislature also passed a law to help Ron DeSantis, which DeSantis signed, which redacts the details about his trips, how convenient, including the type of plane used and the names of his travel companions, which would, of course, undoubtedly be donors. So, I mean, if that's not an effort to hide his corruption, I don't know what is. It is super obvious. Even so, Florida Republicans hadn't gutted all the rules, at least not yet, because he is still required to report gifts over $100 to the Ethics Commission, and in these 6 circumstances, he did not. So, still managed to break the rules, even though the rules were super, super lax, because these people can't get enough corruption. They bathe in it. But speaking of that, let's talk about cultivating relationships. What does that mean? Basically means kissing donor ass. That's another nice way to say it, because that's why you go on these trips. You go on these trips, the donors will go and they'll pay your way, lodging, fancy dinners, etc. And then you, who is the beneficiary of these trips, basically get to kiss their ass and say, what do you want, sir? I will do whatever you ask me to. Just please keep sending those donations my way. I want, and look, they get those donations, and guess what? The politician, when they get into power, gives them a return on investment. Here's an example of that. Now, the Post noted that when DeSantis traveled to Augusta National Golf Club on a plane owned by home builder Maury Hosseini, after the trip, he received $92 million in federal pandemic funding by the DeSantis administration that the DeSantis administration steered to a highway interchange project that he had asked for. Oh, here, just have this $92 million your way, to help you with that project that you wanted. Interesting. So now the governor also had taken 4 other flights on a plane registered to donor John Wick. Quick, Wick, not that John Wick, or John Swick, I think. Now, Swick maintains that he doesn't know how the flights were paid for. Really? You let this guy fly in your plane 4 times, and you don't know who paid for it? Really? That seems rather dubious. Very, very strange indeed. It might be. That might be. No, here's the thing. In Ron DeSantis, we have an elite who gets fancy gifts from other elites in order to serve the same elites, claiming that he is fighting against elites. And it's not just him, of course, that's been a tack that has been taken by the Republican Party since Trump, who also is an elite who takes money or took money from elites to serve elites because he thinks he's elite. And he actually thinks he's more elite than the elites, but claims to be fighting against the elites. All of this can be summed up by a Republican strategist who talked about Ron DeSantis, but again, I think this can apply to other Republicans here, or the majority of the Republican Party, saying, quote, all this anti-elitist stuff, he's the first person to tell you where he went to school. In Ron DeSantis' case, he went to Yale. Quote, it's the performance art. When you know better. When you're really smart and you act dumb. He's playing a role, but it's a role the base says it wants. Now, in the case of Trump, I can't really say that he's playing dumb, but nonetheless, the rest of it's true. It is performance art, okay? And the base absolutely does want that because, look, as much as I rag on the Republican base, there are some things that they do get right. There are some things that innately we as average people know. We know we are getting screwed by the rich. We know that. We know that there are elites out there that are not looking out for our best interest, that are looking out for their own interests, and that's monetary interest. Now, the difference, of course, is the left knows what's actually going on, whereas the right wings seems to come up with weirdo conspiracies involving the Rothschilds and the Bilderbergs, okay? Which is just another, code for the Jews. But anyway, it's just wealthy elites of all different stripes, corporations, and very, very, very loose donation laws in this country that have allowed for this corruption to be rampant. And yes, the media is a big part of that, because guess who gets a lot of these donations that are spent on TV ads? So that said, all these people who go out there and claim, I hate the elitists, I'm against the elite, I'm fighting against the elite, the establishment. No. Guaranteed that they're the ones who are being funded by the elite to screw over the average worker. And all you have to do to find that is to follow the money, even if people like Ron DeSantis in Florida make it tough to do so.